This is an actual ancient text from Old Babylon, from about 3,600 years ago, the Old Babylonian period. In modern English, we call it the Curse of Akkad. Now, this was written probably originally in the Sumerian Renaissance, the period after the recovery from the fall of Akkad, because when the Akkadian Empire fell, the whole of Mesopotamia fell into something of a pretty wretched, dark period. It was a very rough imperial collapse time. And then the Ur-3 dynasty sort of brought things back, and as part of bringing things back, they tried to understand what had happened. Because you can't really... It's hard to get in the mind of an ancient Mesopotamian to the extent that they really don't seem to have believed that history in the big picture changed. They seem to have believed that things just move forward forever in basically the same way, that cities don't die, that cities don't rise. People come and go, maybe sometimes dynasties come and go, but like a city for them was as fixed as a mountain, as determined by the gods in their planning of the universe, as a mountain or a river was. Of course, in our mind, we're just so used to the idea that kingdoms rise and fall, empires collapse, things like that, that it is just part of our worldview. This is a very alien thing for them. And the Akkadian Empire was not only the world's first empire, but it was also the world's first imperial collapse. And so it was traumatic on multiple levels, not just being actually really disruptive and destructive, but also like theological and philosophical. And so this story about the Curse of Akkad circulated widely. And here is one version of it as how they explained it to themselves and understood. The text begins: After Enlil's frown had slain Kish as if it were the bull of heaven, had slaughtered the house of the land of Uruk in the dust as if it were a mighty bull, and then Enlil, the god, had given rulership and kingship from the south as far as the highlands to Sargon, king of Akkad. At that time, Holy Inanna had established the sanctuary of Akkad as her celebrated women's domain. She set up her throne in the temple of Olmash. Like a young man building a house for the first time, or a girl establishing her own women's domain, Holy Inanna did not sleep, as she ensured that the warehouses would all be provisioned, that dwellings would be found in the city, that its people would eat splendid food, that its people would drink splendid beverages, that those bathes for the holidays would rejoice in the courtyards, and that the people would throng in places of celebration, that acquaintances would dine together, that foreigners would cruise about like unusual birds in the sky, that even Marhashi would be re-entered on the tribute rolls, that monkeys, elephants, water buffalo, exotic animals, as well as thoroughbred dogs, lions, mountain ibexes, mountain beasts, and alam sheep with long wool would jostle each other in the public squares. She then filled Akkad's stores for emmer wheat with gold. She filled its stores for white emmer with silver. She delivered copper, tin, and blocks of lapis lazuli to its granaries and sealed its silos from outside. She endowed its old women with the gift of giving counsel. She endowed its old men with the gift of eloquence. She endowed its young women with the gift of entertaining, and its young men with martial might. She endowed all the little ones with joy. The nursmaids who cared for the general's children played the drumsticks. Inside the city, tigi drums sounded. Outside it, flutes and zamzam instruments. Its harbor where ships moored was full of joy. All foreign lands rested contentedly, and their people experienced happiness. Its king, the shepherd Naram-Sin, rose as the daylight on the holy throne of Akkad. Its city wall, like a mountain, reached the heavens. It was like the Tigris flowing into the sea as holy Inanna opened the portals of its city gates and made Sumer bring its own possessions upstream by boats. The highland Martu people, ignorant of agriculture, brought spirited cattle and kids for her. The Meluhans, people of the Black Land, which India, distant India, brought exotic wares from foreign countries to her. Elam and Subir in the Iranian mountains loaded themselves with goods for her as if they were pack-asses. All the governors, the temple administrators, the generals, and the accountants of the Gu Eden, where Umma and Lagash were situated, regularly supplied the monthly and New Year offerings. What a weariness all these caused at Akkad's city gates! Holy Inanna could hardly receive all the offerings that were coming to her. As if she were a citizen there, she could not restrain the desire to prepare the ground for a temple. But the statement coming from the Ekkur temple was disquieting. Because of Enlil, all Akkad was reduced to trembling. Now, this one line here is extremely important, and unfortunately its translation is unclear. It does seem like, very suddenly, and for no apparent reason, Enlil was mad at Akkad, and terror came upon Inanna in her Olmash temple of Akkad. She left the city, returning to her home. Holy Inanna abandoned the sanctuary of Akkad like someone abandoning the young women of her women's domain. Like a warrior hurrying to arms, she tore away the gift of battle and fight from the city and handed them over to the enemy. Not even 5 or 10 days had passed, and Ninurta brought the jewels of rulership, the royal crown, the emblem, and the royal throne bestowed upon Akkad. He brought them back to Eshumesha, his holy temple. Utu took out the eloquence of the city. Enki took away its wisdom. An took out into the midst of heaven its fearsomeness that reaches heaven. Enki tore out its well-anchored holy mooring pole from the Abzu waters which form the foundation of the universe. Inanna took away its weapons. The life of Akkad's sanctuary was brought to an end as if it had been only the life of a tiny fish in the deep waters, and all the cities were watching it. Like a mighty elephant, it bent its neck to the ground, while they all raised their horns like mighty bulls. Like a dying dragon, it dragged its head on the earth, and they jointly deprived it of honor, as in a battle. Naram-Sin saw in a nocturnal vision that Enlil would not let the kingdom of Akkad occupy a pleasant, lasting residence, and that he would make its future altogether unfavorable, that he would make its temples shake and would scatter its treasures and destroy its treasuries. He realized what the dream was about, but did not put into words and didn't discuss it with anyone. Temples would shake, and he performed ecstasies, divinations regarding his temples. But what he found there is lost a little bit, but then because of the decisions made in the temple of the Ekkur, Naram-Sin put on mourning clothes, covering his chariot with a reed mat. He tore the reed canopy off his ceremonial barge, and he gave away his royal paraphernalia. Naram-Sin persisted then for 7 years. Who's ever seen a king burying his head in his hands for 7 years? And he then went to perform a divination on a kid, this would be a young goat, not a young child, regarding the temple. But the omen had nothing to say about the building of the temple. For a second time, he went to perform a divination on a kid regarding the temple, but the omen had nothing to say about the building of a temple. In order to change what had been inflicted upon him, he tried to alter Enlil's pronouncement. Now, before we get into altering Enlil's pronouncement, this trope of a king not being allowed to build the temple that he wants to build for the great high God, it echoes very strongly David not being allowed to build the temple of Yahweh in Jerusalem and being told that instead his heirs would build it. The difference here is Naram-Sin is being told more or less that there are no heirs who are going to be building it, and therefore he's not allowed to build a temple to Enlil. And so this is a bit more final and permanent than David hearing, you can't build it, but your son can. And so King David's response, famously, was an attempt at being obedient to God. Naram-Sin here is going to try and alter Enlil's pronouncement. The text continues, because his subjects were dispersed, he now began a mobilization of his troops. Like a wrestler who's about to enter the great courtyard, he waved his hands towards the Akkad temple. Like an athlete bent to start a contest, he treated the Giguna as if it were worth only 30 shekels. Like a robber plundering the city, he set tall ladders against the temple, to demolish the Akkad temple as if it were a huge ship, to break up its soil like the soil of mountains where precious metals are mined, to splinter it like the lapis lazuli mountain, to prostrate it like a city inundated by Ashur. Although the temple was not the mountain of cedar felling, he had large axes cast. He had double-edged agsilig axes sharpened to be used against the Akkad temple. The Akkad temple, by the way, is in the city of Nippur, so it's not in Akkad, and it seems like he wants it. He set spades against its roots, and it sank as low as the foundation of the land. He put axes against its top, and the temple, like a dead soldier, bowed its neck before him. And all the foreign lands bowed their neck before Naram-Sin. He ripped out its drain pipes, and all the rain went back to the heavens. He tore off its upper lintel, and the land was deprived of its ornament. From its gate, from which grain is never diverted, he diverted grain, and the land was deprived of grain. He struck the gate of well-being with the pickaxe, and well-being was subverted in all the foreign lands. As if they were for great tracts of land with wide fish-filled waters, he cast large spades to be used against the Akkad temple. The people could see the bedchamber, its room which knows no daylight. In a Israelite context, this would be the Holy of Holies. The Akkadians could look into the holy treasure chest of the gods. Though they had committed no sacrilege, its Lahama deities at the great pilasters standing at the temple were thrown into the fire by Naram-Sin. The cedar, cypress, juniper, and boxwood, the woods of its Giguna, were destroyed by him. He put its gold in containers and put silver in leather bags. He filled the docks with the copper of the temple as if it were just a huge transport of grain. The silversmiths were reshaping its silver. The jewelers were reshaping its precious stones. Smiths were beating its copper. Large ships were moored at the temple. Large ships were moored at Enlil's temple, and its possessions were taken away from the city, though they were not the goods of a plundered city. With the possessions being taken away from the city, good sense left Akkad. As the ships moved away from the docks, Akkad's intelligence was removed. Enlil, the roaring storm that subjugates the entire land, the rising deluge that cannot be confronted, was considering what should be destroyed in return for the wrecking of his beloved Akkad. He lifted his gaze towards the Guban mountains and made all of the inhabitants of the broad mountain ranges descend. Enlil brought out of the mountains those who do not resemble other people, who are not reckoned as part of the land. The Gutians, an unbridled people, whose with human intelligence, but canine instincts and monkey features. Like small birds, they swooped on the ground in great flocks. Because of Enlil, they stretched their arms out across the plain like a net for animals. Nothing escaped their clutches. No one left their grasp. Messengers no longer traveled the highways. The courier's boat no longer passed along the rivers. The Gutians drove the trusty goats of Enlil out of their folds and compelled their herdsmen to follow them. They drove the cows out of the pens and compelled their cowherds to follow them. Prisoners manned the watch. Brigands attacked the highways. The doors of the city gates of the land were covered with mud, and all the foreign lands uttered bitter cries from the walls of their cities. They established gardens for themselves within the cities, and not as usual on the wide plain outside, meaning that in proper civilization you have your city inside the walls and your farms outside the walls, but the Gutians are so backwards that they live outside the walls of the city, and they farm inside the city. They build a garden inside the city. This is how backwards and anti-civilizational they are. As if it had been made before the time when cities were built and founded, the large arable tracts yielded no grain. The inundated fields yielded no fish. The irrigated orchards yielded no syrup or wine. The thick clouds did not rain. The mashgurum plant did not grow. In those days, oil for 1 shekel was only half a liter. Grain that cost 1 shekel was only half a liter. Wool for 1 shekel was only 1 mina. Fish for 1 shekel filled only 1 ban measure. These sold at such prices in the markets of the cities, utterly unaffordable. Those who lay down on the roof died on the roof. Those who laid down in the house weren't buried. People were flailing at themselves from hunger. By the Ki'ur, Enlil's great palace, dogs were packed together in the silent streets. If 2 men walked there, they would be devoured by them. And if 3 men walked by there, even they would be devoured by the dogs. Noses were punched, heads were smashed, noses were cut off and piled up, heads were sown in the ground like seeds. Honest people were confounded with traitors. Heroes lay dead on top of heroes. The blood of traitors ran upon the blood of honest men. At that time, Enlil rebuilt his great sanctuaries into small reed sanctuaries, and from east to west he reduced their storehouses. The old women who survived those days, the old men who survived those days, and the chief lamentation singer who survived those days set up 7 balaj drums, as if they stood at the horizon, and together with some various other sorts of drums, they made them resound to Enlil like Ishkur for 7 days and 7 nights. The old women did not restrain the cry of "Alas for my city." The old men did not restrain their cry of "Alas for its people." The lamentation singer did not restrain their cry "Alas for the Akkad." Its young women did not restrain from tearing their hair, and its young men did not restrain from sharpening their knives, all of these being stereotyped mourning activities. They are, in this case, mourning for their entire civilization. Their laments were as if Enlil's ancestors were performing a lament in the awe-inspiring holy mound by the holy knees of Enlil. And because of this, Enlil entered his holy bedchamber and lay down fasting. At that time, the gods Sin, Enki, Inanna, Ninurta, Ishkur, Utu, Nushka, and Nisaba, the great gods, sprinkled Enlil's heart with cool water and prayed to him. Enlil, may the city that destroyed your city be treated as your city has been treated. May the one that defiled your Geguna be treated as Nippur. In this city may heads fill the wells. May no one find his acquaintances there. May brother not recognize brother. May its young woman be cruelly killed in her women's domain. May its old man cry in distress for his slain wife. May its pigeons moan on the window ledges. May its small birds be smitten in their nooks. May it live in constant anxiety like a timid pigeon. Again, Sin, Enki, Inanna, Ninurta, Ishkur, Utu, Nuska, and Nisaba, all the gods whatsoever, turned their attention to the city and cursed Akkad severely. City, you pounced on Ekur. It's as if you had pounced on Enlil. Akkad, you pounced on Ekur. It's as if you had pounced on Enlil. May your holy walls to their highest point resound with mourning. May your Geguna be reduced to the pile of dust. May your pilasters with their standing Lahama deities fall to the ground like tall young men drunk on wine. May your clay be returned to its Abzu, primordial waters. May it be clay cursed by Enki. May your grain be returned to its furrow. May it be grain cursed by Ezina, goddess of grain. May your timber be returned to its forest. May it be timber cursed by Ninilduma. May the cattle slaughterer slaughter his wife. May the sheep butcher butcher his child. May water wash away your pauper as he's looking for alms. May your prostitute hang herself at the entrance of her brothel. May your pregnant priestesses and cult prostitutes abort all their children. May your gold be bought for the price of mere silver. May your silver be bought for the price of mere pyrite, and may your copper be bought for the price of lead. Akkad, may your strong man be deprived of his strength, so that he will be unable to lift his sack of provisions, and will not have the joy of controlling your superior asses. May he lie idle all day. May this make the city die of hunger. May your citizens who used to eat fine food lie hungry. May the man eat the coating on the roof. May he chew the leather hinges on the main door of his father's house. May depression descend upon your palace built for joy. May the evils of the desert, the silent place, howl continuously. May foxes that frequent ruin mounds brush with their tails your Uzga precinct, established for purification ceremonies. May the ukuku, the bird of depression, make its nest in your gateways, established for the land. In your city that could not sleep because of the tiggy drums, that could not rest from its joy, may the bulls of Nana fill the pens below those who wander in the desert, the silent place. May the grass grow long on your canal bank towpaths. May the grass of mourning grow on your highway laid for the wagons. Moreover, may the wild rams and the alert snakes of the mountains allow no one to pass on your towpaths that have been built up with canal sediment. In your plains where fine grass grows, may the reed of lamentation grow. May brackish water flow in the river where fresh water flowed for you. If someone decides, I will dwell in this city, may he not enjoy the pleasures of a dwelling place. If someone decides, I will rest in Akkad, may he not enjoy the pleasures of a resting place. And before Utu, on that very day of the curse being pronounced, so it was. On its canal bank towpaths the grass grew long from disuse. On its highways laid for wagons the grass of mourning grew from disuse. Moreover, on its towpaths built up with canal sediments, wild rams and alert snakes of the mountains allowed no one to pass. because they were hazards on the road. On its plain where fine grass grew, now the reeds of lamentation grew. Akkad's flowing fresh water flowed as brackish water. When someone decided, I will dwell in that city, he could not enjoy the pleasures of a dwelling place. When someone decided, I will rest in Akkad, he could not enjoy the pleasures of a resting place. Inanna be praised for the destruction of Akkad. This was the cursing of Akkad from the Old Babylonian period. And note that in the time of the Old Babylonian period, we do know that the city of Akkad had not yet been fully abandoned. It was clearly not at the height of prosperity that it had been during the Akkadian Empire, but it was still in use and would continue to be in use and occasionally mentioned as a minor but historically notable town for centuries after. It's only at some point, some unclear point after the death of Akkadian culture, and cuneiform culture rather, and the Akkadian language, that the location of the city of Akkad was in fact lost to history, and it remains one of the great mysteries of Assyriology where the city of Akkad was once located. It's never been found by modern archaeologists, and the range of possible locations for the city is actually quite large. And so they don't really have a sense of where even to start looking besides that general range of between the two rivers, sort of near where they narrow. But yes, this has been a more literary tablet than the other ones lately, but it is good to do literary tablets. Let me know in the comments. I am working on, I have some letters from merchants of Karam Kanesh. Those will be coming up soon. I have some songs, some epics that will be coming up soon. And just as I find things, they will be coming up. Please do let your friends know about this channel. I don't market very much. I really rely on word of mouth and the algorithm. A like, a subscribe, and a tell your friends goes a long way in that world. Thank you for listening.